The story starts with Beta informing Shadow and some other members of Shadow Garden that there has been no conspicuous activity by the cult of Diablos in the Midgar Kingdom since the Bushin Festival. She mentions that the smaller sects were already at a standstill, and now the Fenrir sect, which was in the process of resurrecting, appears to be immobilized by the confusion as well. Gamma and Iris Philia mentions that it's all going according to Lord Shadow's plan, and they state that they can now focus their efforts on the Oriana Kingdom. Ada mentions that there has been a troubling news, and she states that there has been a recent acceleration in funds going into the Lawless City. Beta explains that the Lawless City doesn't belong to any nation, and it's a giant slum where evil, wealth, and power of the world converge. She mentions that any trouble that occurs in that region could have an immeasurable effect on the rest of society, and Gamma suggests that they should dispatch additional personnel there to take care of things. Shadow mentions that he can smell the Lawless City reeking of blood, and he mentions that the moon has been red lately, and it looks like the legendary Red Moon. The members of Shadow Garden remember the tragedy of 1,000 years ago hearing this, and they mention that if nothing is done then all the surrounding nations will be subjected to catastrophic damage. Alpha tells everyone to shut up, and she mentions that if this really is an omen of the Red Moon, then they can't sit by idly. Shadow then tells the others to let him handle this matter, but we can see that he is just after the money. Beta wonders if Lord Shadow intends to go alone, and Shadow states that they don't need to fear anything as the moon has just turned red, and nothing else. Alpha thinks that faced with Lord Shadow even the legendary Red Moon is of no significance, and Shadow states that he finds the moon to be more beautiful when it's red. The others agree with him, and they state that they are only able to see its beauty because of him, and they wish Shadow luck in battle. Shadow then thinks that the ad-libbing skills of these girls are great, and we see that Shadow still thinks that the cult of Diablos is not real, and the others are just playing along with his farce. The scene then cuts to Goldie and Quentin in front of the Crimson Tower ruled by the Blood Queen, one of the 3 rulers of the Lawless City. They notice that not even the corpse raiders are getting close to the tower, and they think that they must know that they would end up as ghouls if they dared to get close to it. A man then comes in front of the 2 of them, and he states that they are not worthy of entering the tower. He mentions that the only one who can enter this tower are servants or guests of the Blood Queen or powerful warriors. Goldie mentions that they are powerful warriors here to hunt the Blood Queen, and the man laughs hearing this. He mentions that he once made the same mistake of overestimating himself, and he shows them that it cost him an arm, and now he is kept here as a pathetic watchdog. He mentions that he was also confident like them once, and he was called the White Devil. Quentin and Goldie recognize this name, and the White Devil defeats them instantly. The scene then cuts to Sid being dragged around the Lawless City by his sister, and he thinks that the Lawless City is more of a dump than he imagined. Claire tells him to stop gawking around, and Sid wonders if they are not going to the Crimson Tower. Claire states that first they are going to the Dark Knight Association for a strategy meeting, and Sid mentions that he never saw one of those back home. Claire explains that it's because they have their own night order, and she mentions that the Dark Knight Association is an unofficial organization founded by Dark Knights that don't belong to any public institution. Sid then explains how they got here, and he mentions that after her sister won the Bushin Festival, he used his connection to get them a fancy dinner at Mitsugoshi, and then Claire told him that she was going to the Lawless City to exterminate the vampires, and she dragged him with her. In the present, Claire states that she brought Sid here out of consideration for him, and she mentions that if he stays behind her, and does everything she says, then she can open a spot for him in Midgar's Night Order after he graduates. Sid then thinks that he hasn't considered what he is going to do after he graduates, and he thinks that he doesn't mind what kind of job he ends up with as long as he can do what he wants. A slave trader then butters up Claire into buying one of his slaves by calling her a beautiful lady, and he shows her Goldie and Quentin, and he states that he will sell them both to her for 35 million. Sid thinks that he has seen them somewhere, but he doesn't remember where. Claire mentions that she has all the pets she wants while pointing at Sid, and she then leaves. Sid asks Claire to stop dragging her, and Claire states that he will get lost if she lets go of him. Sid states that he won't, and the scene cuts to him lost in the town. He mentions that he just came out of the inn for a minute because he was bored, and a man then steals Sid's wallet. Sid gets it back using his slime suit, and he manages to get the man's wallet as well. Some more people then try the same thing with Sid as he walks around town, and Sid takes their wallets as well. He thinks that this town is great, and he can't believe that he is getting money just by taking a stroll. He then comes across a few people beating on a ghoul, and he thinks that he has heard that ghouls, the underlings of a vampire, have a lot of health points, but around here it seems like they are just everyone's punching bags. The night then falls, and Sid feels a wave of magical energy, and right after that the ghoul starts behaving differently, and kills all the people who were beating him, and he bites one of them and he turns him into a ghoul as well. Sid thinks that ghouls aren't supposed to multiply like this, and he thinks that this must be because the red moon is simulating all the magical energy in town. He states that he will have to do something or they will just keep on multiplying, and he wonders how he should use this situation. A red-haired girl then comes there, and she kills the ghouls. She introduces herself as Marie, an ancient vampire hunter, and she asks Sid to run. She mentions that the frenzy has begun, and the moon is red, and they are out of time. Marie then leaves, and back at their inn, Claire finds out that Sid is not in his room, and this makes her angry. A ghoul then tries to attack a man besides Claire, and Claire kills the ghoul, and she wonders if the man has seen her brother. The man states that he hasn't, and Claire goes to search for Sid. We then see that the two friends of Sid are also in the lawless city in the hopes of losing their virginity here, and seeing the girls in the pleasure district, they think that risking their life to come here was worth it. They get all hyped up, and then a ghoul attacks them from behind, and seeing the ghoul, they run away. Afterwards we see a prostitute who is unhappy with her last customer, and she wonders how long her life is going to continue like this. She then hears some noise outside, and she gets scared seeing some ghouls attack people. One of the ghouls also manages to come to her room, and the girl is terrified. Shadow then comes there, and he kills the ghoul, and he tells the girl the same thing that Marie told him just now, thinking that it's a cool line. The girl asks him who he is, and he introduces himself as Shadow, and he leaves. A girl then comes to check on the prostitute, and she is surprised to see the dead ghoul. The prostitute explains that a man named Shadow saved her, and the girl explains to Marie that Shadow is the same evil mastermind who had a field day beating up the corrupt clergy. The prostitute thinks that he didn't seem like a bad man, and she mentions that she is going to get out of this crazy town, and she thanks Shadow. The scene then cuts to a nine-tailed fox named Yukime being informed that the vampires have set the ghouls loose in the city, and elsewhere Claire cries looking at a dead body thinking that this is her brother. Marie then comes there, and she asks Claire if she is the girl going around town looking for a black-haired man with black eyes. Claire states that she has already found him, and Marie mentions that this man doesn't seem to have either black eyes or black hair. Claire then realizes that this is not her brother, and Marie mentions that she met two men matching this description. She states that one of them was smiling while standing in front of a rampaging ghoul, and Claire states that it couldn't be her brother. Marie mentions that the second one was a young dark knight, and he was about to be taken away by the followers of the Blood Queen. She mentions that he must have been taken to the Crimson Tower, and the vampires must be planning to use him as a sacrifice to awaken the Blood Queen from her 1,000-year slumber. She mentions that they need the blood of a young man to awaken her, and Claire states that this is the first she has heard of the Blood Queen being asleep. Marie mentions that they have kept this a secret for the last 1,000 years, but at the night of the red moon she will rise again. Marie mentions that she also has some business in the Crimson Tower, and Claire states that they should work together then, and they then slay some ghouls which were trying to attack them. Meanwhile, one of the rulers of the lawless city named Juggernaut states that he hasn't seen a battle like this in a long time, and elsewhere at the Dark Knights Association the Dark Knights are running away as they are scared of the ghouls. A female Dark Knight is standing her ground with another Dark Knight, but they are surrounded by ghouls, and Shadow then comes there, and he saves them. He tells them the same line that he told the prostitute, and they recognize him as Shadow. At the same time in the Crimson Tower a vampire informs Lord Crimson that preparations for the sacrifice are almost complete, and their takeover of the city is going as planned. However, they are meeting some resistance, and Crimson thinks that the ones resisting must be Yukime the Spirit Fox, ruler of the White Tower, and Juggernaut the Tyrant, ruler of the Black Tower. He states that they should let them play their games, as they will meet their end as soon as the Blood Queen awakens. The vampire then states that there is another person going around the city killing their ghouls, and we see that Yukime and Juggernaut are easily taking care of the ghouls in town. They then come face to face with each other, and they try to fight, but Shadow intervenes in their fight, and upon being asked who he is, he introduces himself as Shadow, the one who lurked.